Okay. I think, firstly, before I start off, two quotes that have become more and more relevant. 10, 15, 20 years ago, if we wanted to find something out, there was irrelevant information. Everything today is relevant. We don't know why consumers do certain or act in a certain way or spend their money in a certain way, and it's more, the more data we have, the more we can actually start seeing how that information is relevant. I think the next one is that we all thought that Google was collecting data, and if we went onto a search engine, that's how we got our data, and that data was factual. And again, as we see more and more market studies being done and more people providing the correct data, we can see how sometimes Google is not always the best place to go to, and that it's best to go to the professionals, get the best information, then make up your mind from there. Just a little bit of history on Burger King. We have a 60-year heritage. We're the second largest hamburger franchise chain in the world. We have 12,500 stores worldwide, serving 11 million guests every day. We operate in 76 different countries. Burger King didn't just get there because they decided to go to the 76 different countries. They went there because they used the best market research that was available. They correlated that information. They did extensive studies into who their customers were, how their customers acted, and what the customers wanted. And using that information, they decided how they were going to roll out into the rest of the world. And that's really what we've tried to take from Burger King and use in South Africa. And in doing this, we've had to look, who's our customer? What are we trying to target? Our gender is gender neutral. So we're looking ideally for a population group that's 50-50, the users of the QSR market or quick service restaurant market. And when I'm talking about the quick service restaurant market and our consumer, we're looking for someone that uses QSR more than once every 4 weeks. So it's a person that will at least either get a convenience meal or will actually use a QSR to fulfill a family need. So that's really the target market we're looking for, and in that market to be gender neutral. Our age group that we're looking at is between 16 and 39 years of age, and we want to try and, from an economic perspective, we're looking between LSM 5 and 7. That's ideally the kind of market we're looking at. So when Burger King started looking at South Africa, we also had to look at our competition. Now, on the international side, we didn't have very much competition. We had the Evil Empire and we had KFC that were available in South Africa. But everyone is a competitor, and there are a lot of homegrown brands, and they're brands that have had opportunities to grow within the country. We've also had popping up all around the spaza shops and little convenience stores. Those are all part of the QSR market, and they all are competitors to us. So we had a look at how big the market was and where it had come from. So in 2007, the QSR market only represented 7.6 billion rand. In 2011, it had grown to 20 billion. And just to put that into perspective, in 1995, only 9 million people would go to a QSR, in other words, use a QSR more than once every 4 weeks. That now sits last year 26 million people. So the market is growing in an astronomical rate, and it's compounding all the time. And that's what we looked for as Burger King. We didn't want to just say, all right, we must go to South Africa because South Africa's got a KFC or it's got other brands in it. We actually had to go there knowing that the market is ready and would accept the brand, and we would be successful. The disposable income in 1995, only 8,700 Rand, growing now to 73,000 in 2020. So everything started to line up with the other countries we've been to. So it started to line up with Brazil, it started to line up with Turkey. And as all those sort of dominoes started to fall, so we could make the decision that we actually wanted to go into the South African market, and we knew we could be aggressive to come into the South African market. One of the interesting anomalies in South Africa is that in the QSR market, 50% is represented by chicken. That is an anomaly throughout the world. It's the only country where chicken represents such a strong part of the QSR market. This tells us that we have opportunity, because there's an aspirational buy to beef. As people start to get more money and they start aspiring to international brands, they start to move towards beef. So this gives us a very big opportunity as Burger King in South Africa. So again, we had to identify who we're looking for. It was the age, the gender, how often they came to the market, would go to a QSR, the LSM that they fitted into, the amount of spend per visit, and then again the geographic profile of the people. Where do they live? Is it rural? Is it metropolitan areas? And this data we started to accumulate. We used various data agencies to help us with this. And what we first saw was that we were starting to move into the right age group. And over the last, from 2007 to 2011, bang, there we were, right in the middle. 63% of our of the age demographic was eating in QSRs at least once every 4 weeks. So it was starting to say that we had a stable age demographic. We were moving in the right direction for us to be able to choose our consumer. If we looked at the population demographic of South Africa, the distribution was correct as well. It wasn't weighted like Japan, where it's weighted all to a very old age, and there's hardly anyone sitting in the middle. We've got a very nice young age group sitting right in the middle, representing more than 51% of our population. Those people will all spend money, they're consumers, they're all aspirational. The gender profile, very, very even split. So it was not predominant on anyone. We're actually finding that more women are now using fast foods in South Africa, and that's really as women start to go into the job market, they start to become their own independent person. They're not relying on a husband. It's now two-income families. Women make more decisions in the family, and therefore women are becoming a predominant user of the QSR market in South Africa. If we have to look then at how often someone goes to the QSR market in South Africa, and we go back 2007, 66% of the population would go to a fast food outlet at least once in 4 weeks. That's now risen to 74% in 2011, and it continues to rise. That's also taking that the population, that portion of the population is growing all the time. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger market that is going to QSRs. And a projection going forward is that 32 million people in 2016 will be going to a QSR at least once every 4 weeks. That's an enormous number. To put that into context worldwide, that is the same number that Turkey have. Turkey currently have 500 Burger Kings in it. It's the most predominant QSR player in Turkey, and that is the kind of demographic that Turkey fetches at the moment. If we look at the LSM profile, and again, it's really to look at stability. We didn't want to see if there were spikes or troughs in the market. We wanted to see that the LSM was staying stable. In other words, we were taking out any anomalies that might have been a sort of macroeconomic political side that had changed how the LSM group in a country worked. And what we've seen from 2007 through 2011, our LSM 5 to 7, our target market, was incredibly stable. The same people that are going to fast foods all the time, it was really who we wanted. So whilst we want someone that sits in your high LSMs to use a QSR, that's more of it's a convenience factor. It's not every once every 4 weeks. So we really wanted to look for the people that use it more frequently than less frequently. The amount spent. What we've started to see is as the population was growing and the disposable income was going up, so the spend in the QSR was going up. And when we first started doing our market research, or Burger King themselves started doing their market research early in 2005, the average ticket sales in the QSR was 32 Rand. That amount is growing every single day. We now looked at our average ticket sales, and this does have drive-thrus, and it has gone up to 100 Rand. So people are now buying meals. It's not just a convenience anymore. It's just not a pop in to grab a quick burger. We're now buying a meal when we go into a QSR market. Then we looked at where the spread was. Where are the people that use the QSR market living, and what kind of person is using the QSR? So the predominance was Gauteng, and obviously that being the financial engine of South Africa. But then the surprise for me was that actually KZN is the second biggest QSR market in South Africa, and that then followed by the other provinces. Now, when we were looking at this it would have led us to say, well, let's start our business in Gauteng. We'd then go to KZN, and then we'd move to the other areas. However, we decided we needed to look at it because we were going to import a lot of our product. We would actually start in the Western Cape because we were at a port. KZN also has got a port. That port's nearly windbound all the time and hardly offload ships. Cape Town had a better offloading cycle, so Cape Town was where we started. And then our holding company, GPI's head office is in Cape Town, so it gave us some economies of scale that our back of office could be was in the Western Cape as well. Surprisingly enough, the new data that's coming out of this is that the Western Cape's now grown to 16% of the QSR market. So whilst it was only 10% when we were doing our research, it's grown to 16%, and KZN's come off slightly. But Gauteng still is a predominant market leader for where QSR users are. And then who fits into the profile? And here, metropolitan areas, it's where we have to concentrate on the QSR market for ourselves. The non-urban areas that sits at 31%, that's more your spaza shops, the guy under a tree with a little braai. And again, as I said, that is a competitor for us. So all of this data that we got from the different analysts led us to believe that South Africa was ready to get another major international brand coming into the country. We knew that we had to go into metropolitan areas. We knew what our target market was. We knew our gender profile. We knew our age profile. We knew our LSM that we were targeting. So when we came into South Africa, we could determine what price point we wanted to set at. We knew what type of meals we wanted to offer, and we knew what the consumer was taking away in each of those types of environment using the worldwide knowledge that we got from Burger King. So all of those sort of different profiles led us to be able to understand what type of shop to build, how big to build the shop, and then what kind of offering we were going to have in that shop. We even went as far as looking at who's using this as terms of a family. Are they singles? Is it parents, two parents, parents with one kid? And again, it starts to give a profile of where you want to position your shops. And you want to position your shops in areas, metropolitan, there's got to be a lot of convenience, it's got to be a very easy shop for someone. So drive-thrus are very important for us into the future, and we're busy working on that. But at the moment, we know that the brand will be well accepted in South Africa. We know that the population in South Africa eats fast food. They will continue to eat fast food. It's a growing market all the time, and it's definitely the springboard for us to move into the rest of Africa. We have to start here in South Africa. Any questions? We're looking quite aggressively to move in the next 18 to 24 months.
Will you start in West Africa? See the place?
We'll probably start more in Southern Africa, so we will really our neighbours. It's just ease of getting product in there, but we are looking further north than that.
So Nigeria, Ghana,
Nigeria
on the agenda also.
on the agenda, but very, very difficult to get the product in there. There's a lot of red tape in Nigeria.
Are there questions from the floor? I could keep going on this all day. I'm still positioning myself for Vice CEO position. Can I just get a mic? Sorry, 2 seconds.
I just want to know how many outlets are there currently in the country, where they are, and how, by the end of the year, how many there will be?
We currently have 11 stores that are up and running, predominantly the Western Cape. We've got 6 in the Western Cape, 5 in Gauteng. However, by the end of next week, we'll have our first store open in KwaZulu-Natal, and by the end of the month, we'll have 16 stores up and running. The number for the end of the year is a running target. I keep getting pushed harder and harder by my chairman. Can't tell you what that number is going to be, but it'll be a significant number.
Was it difficult to negotiate a franchise in the first place?
I think there were 2 willing partners, so it was difficult from a legal standpoint. I think we both knew the strength of the brand and the power of the brand and how it would be accepted in South Africa. So it was really, once we got the lawyers out the room, we were able to sit down and negotiate a contract that worked for both parties.
Further questions? Thank you.
the reason why you wanted to be associated with Sasol in the convenience sector?
I think there are several points that we looked at here, and one again, Burger King internationally have this type of relationship. So in Spain, they have an exclusive relationship with Repsol. In the Nordic regions, they have a relationship with a company I can't pronounce. And it is part of their worldwide strategy to look for exclusive relationships. And the reason you want to do that is you want to try and partner with like-minded brands. You want top-of-mind awareness. When someone's driving down a road and they see a Sasol, they must know automatically that there's a Burger King, and when they see Burger King, they know it's a Sasol. And by doing that, you start to create brand awareness and brand loyalty. So our decision to go with Sasol was primarily that we could find a partner that could give us exclusivity, didn't have too many other competing brands within its stable. They have 230 current stores that are up and running, and they bring 12 more to market every year. So they've got a very aggressive rollout plan compared to any of the other fuel retailers in the market at the moment. Answer the question.
I think that was great. Any other questions from the floor? Just in terms of going back to that theme on spatial data, you can see the queues outside the Rivonia store. Are you, and I believe Cape Town is a similar scenario, are you finding that you've got that much demand in all of the territories that you've rolled out?
We have. What's been quite phenomenal is, and going back to the Sasol, we did a 58 square meter store at Sasol in Pretoria West. Now, I didn't even know where the Sasol was, so I could battle to find it on a GPS, and that little store is doing over 2 million rand revenue every single month out of 58 square meters.
I rest my case. Get your brand right. You've got to consumer. Jaye, Sinclair, CEO of Burger King.